On the 4th of March 2022, Namibia for the first time joined the international community in celebrating and commemorating the World NGO Day.
The first global inaugural event of the World NGO Day was hosted by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Finland on 27 February 2014 in Helsinki, Finland. And since then, this universal concept of World NGO Day is to celebrate, commemorate and collaborate the various NGOs around the world, the people within them and behind them who contribute to society.
The World NGO Day is celebrated annually on the 27th of April, and more than 89 countries across 6 continents observed this day.
It's an international day dedicated to recognizing, celebrating and honoring all non-government and non-profit organizations, as well as the people who work for them, who make a significant contribution to society throughout the year.
I'm coming from Women Solidarity Namibia. The organization was formed 1989. I think it was because of the military raping our women and the courts asking them to testify as the guilty party. And that really made us very angry. And Women Solidarity was formed. It was called Rape Crisis then.
I'm working for an organization called Namibian Network of 8 Service Organizations. It's an umbrella organization working in the area of public health. We're dealing with issues of access to health services, universal health coverage. We're dealing with pandemics like COVID, but for the greater part of what we have been doing as an NGO is dealing with HIV, and currently there is a double sword pandemic, which is HIV now coupling with COVID.
I joined civil society at the age of 13 years in Gideon when I attended the first NANSO meeting. And people have this idea about NANSO that it's just a student movement, but NANSO was one of the powerful, most well-constituted non-governmental organizations in the late 80s and the early 90s. And that's where I really got exposed to the work, development work within NGOs.
I'm one of the founders of RISE Namibia. The organization was established in 1987. And those who decided to establish RISE Namibia were all of them political activists, mobilizing people to join the movement and to work towards the independence of the country.
Many of the NGOs and CSOs established before and immediately after independence have unfortunately dissolved due to the challenges like funding and the inability to transform.
The civil society formations that existed at that time, when one looks back, many of them do not exist today. I think Namibia Development Trust, Legal Assistance Center, Namibian National Farmers Union, RISE Namibia are probably the few bigger NGO types that continue to exist. But it was also, I think, not an easy journey. Some of them that were playing a very important role, if I can recall, like the BRICS community newspaper, which was very active during pre-independence time. After independence, it did not continue to be able to function. And many other, some Stanhouse cooperatives that were started at that time have continued. We're just talking about NAGUL, kind of Namibian National Credit Union League, National Job Creation Service. Those were institutions that were initiated at that time.
RISE was received by the community very well. It was also received very well by the international community. It was really, and its approach to people's participation. Now, we don't do things, we encourage people and create space for people to do themselves. That was a very well received philosophy and approach. But as we were progressing and as the landscape, funding landscape in Namibia started to change, because it started to change because now, because of our classification now as a middle income country, that started to have an impact on international funding. So less and less funding started to come through. And also the second thing is those that used to fund from outside started to come and put up shop in country.
There is a misconception that NGOs and CSOs are mainly for elderly people. However, in recent developments, many NGOs and CSOs have started working on ways to attract young activists and grow youthful leaders.
Well, let me start with myself, like how I got into the NGO world. Before I came to NDT, or to say Namibian Rural Women's Assembly, well, I've first of all started with voluntary work, where I've been working for Sister Namibia as a volunteer. That time around, I was busy with my honors at UNAM. And then I remember a lecturer of ours that just stepped in and was like, who wants to volunteer and just go work with Sister Namibia? They would need a couple of students to just go there. That's where I started with volunteering. Even before, I came here, it was always a thing of reaching out as a volunteer or reaching out as an intern, because I've also been with organizations such as, the Institute of Public Research. I've also been with organizations such as AIDS Alliance for Southern Africa. All these NGOs.
The NGO profession and the career, I would encourage young people that NGOs really offer great opportunities for people that can make or want to make a contribution to the development of their societies.
Yes, I see it's a very, very important role, especially in previously the NGO was in the job market. It was seen more like a last option. So I like the new trend that is now developing, whereby the young people see when they are embarking of entering the job market, they see NGOs as not only as a third and the last option, but also as one of the options, and they seek jobs in the NGOs, and that is very much encouraging. And they they accept NGOs as vehicles for change, vehicles for transformation. From our side, we need to encourage and be open and allow young people to come in and take very important positions in the NGOs.
So my advice I would give to my fellow young people out there, this is not a sector for only, old people, or it's not difficult to get here, because then it's a thing of you yourself have to be self-driven. You have to have the will to want to learn. In order for you to create an opportunity for yourself, sometimes you need to market what you have.
NGOs can also, I think, help many young people take on internships that maybe through that our youth can get better exposure. I think so far NDT annually has been taking up interns, and as part of the NAXO family, we have been having a deliberate program to be able to invite young people to come in as interns, which is run for a 2-year program. Out of that, this person hopefully get placed with a civil society organization, and therefore maybe can find a career path.
The relationship between the government and the NGO CSO sector has been non-existent for many years. NGOs and CSOs were regarded as competitors by the government and therefore seen as unwanted partners in achieving national programs.
The Namibian government adopted a participatory planning approach that should involve everyone in a consultative manner to ensure inclusivity for the realization of our national aspirations. You will agree with me that our individual efforts put together can turn into a bigger effort, hence the call for collaboration. We are mindful of the old adage proverb, which says that if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together.
When we got chartered in 2017, at the time the Deputy Minister was Chikero Toya, we made it a mission of ours to make sure that we work very closely with the government. That's one of the key areas that we focused on, because a lot of cases you would find in other areas of CSOs that they've been left behind. They are not consulted, they are not considered, and whenever they come up as rebellious. But we want to partner with the government. So what we did is try to come up with a solution that would work for both us as a civil society organization and the Republic of Namibia.
There are some political leaders that led us to believe that we are elected, we have the mandate to do whatever we want to do. If you want to get rid of us, wait for 5 years. That's not the system we signed up to. The system we signed up to says we have been elected to lead the process, and that there will be consultative processes and systems put in place for civil society, for NGOs, and broader community to participate in decision making.
We've been calling for partnerships with NGOs, in them carrying forward their work and government providing a supportive role. The initial thinking was for Namibian government to set aside some funding to capacitate NGOs. That has proved difficult in budgetary terms. It's a non-fact. We don't have money as government, but we have money as a nation. As it was indicated, money coming from the taxpayers.
Resourcing of NGOs should actually be done from the taxpayers' money, because in any case, what we are getting currently, the funding that is coming, the stream that we are getting, comes from taxpayers' money from somewhere. So we don't see why we should be denied our own taxpayers' money to be able to do the work that actually benefits our own citizens.
However, with the establishment of the NGO Desk within the National Planning Commission, the government attempts to rethink the role of the NGOs and CSOs in national programs.
I don't know how they did it back in the days, but currently we are faced with a situation where not even the Namibian government is able to address NGOs and CSOs accordingly. National Planning Commission has a desk for NGOs, but I don't even know what they do on that desk, whether it's just a table that is laid out that says NGO and it's collecting dust, or but it's because of that lack of engagement.
There is an NGO desk by the National Planning Commission. Some of us are of the opinion that this NGO desk has not been fulfilling our need, or we don't actually know what the NGO desk is doing. Following the NGO Day celebrations and following the discussions that you are referring to, the National Planning Commission have actually set up a meeting for us to discuss around the NGO desk. And I was part of that meeting with some other colleagues from civil society, where we discussed around what we see as could be the role of the NGO help desk, because I believe that it's a very important gesture that government has made.
Now, when it comes to the GRN Civic Organization Partnership Policy, we have decided to bring that tool as a guide which will which will guide our operations. Unfortunately, its implementation had some questions, but now we are in the process of reviving it in order to strengthen partnerships.
If you look at some organizations that we work with, like National Planning Commission, we have seen a deliberate attempt to try to recognize NGOs. I mean, in 2005, I believe it was 2005 or when 2006, they established what they call the NGO Desk within the National Planning Commission. Now, we can leave the debate for another day of whether that NGO Desk has ever delivered to support NGO work.
We have now, National Planning Commission is in the process of finalizing the recruitment process. We have agreed that NGO people can possibly be invited to participate in the panel of interviews in a way just to ensure that we get a person that we know that understands the NGO sector and can relate with the NGO sector better.
Namibia is a signatory to the Sustainable Development Goals as outlined by the United Nations. Many NGOs and CSOs have devised strategies to align themselves with some of the SDGs.
The Global Sustainable Development Agenda with its 17 goals calls for global action to eradicate poverty, save the planet, and ensure that all people enjoy peace and prosperity by 2030.
In terms of our contribution to SDGs, first of all would be partnerships. These partnerships carry out everything that we need to do in the digital space, and then we work towards another SDG, which is SDG 4, which is education, and educating them on what the internet is, because we want to make this animal sustainable for future generations, leading us into doing research and carrying out different tasks to empower people to work with it.
From the side of RISE, we started to double check whether our core mission is in line with SDGs and which SDGs are we in fact aiming to implement or assist government to implement. And SDG 1, the poverty, with our not only with our backyard gardens, it's not only with our egg production program, it's also with our mobilization of institutions to become themselves the vehicles of development.
When it comes to the first sustainable development goal that speaks to no poverty, and the second one that speaks to zero hunger, here, as I was saying, these are rural women, these are farmers, and we all believe that behind the kitchen there's always a woman, right? They would always make sure that there's food. Our women are the ones that are responsible for cultivating. They are the ones that are responsible for making sure that there's some food on day-to-day basis.
I do not get a sense that NGOs deliberately integrate the Sustainable Development Goals. You know, some of these things becomes fashionable in a way that, and each organization is different and unique. But I think this global compact is a kind of a social contract that we have all, in a way, signed up to. And the expectation is that in whatever you do, even if you don't every day mention, I'm working around this goal, in whatever you do, there is an expectation that you are contributing in one or the other way towards the attainment of these goals.
I was also very much impressed by the fact that all the NGOs that came to speak here, they were talking to what their activities are contributing to in terms of the SDGs. Everyone was saying our work is contributing towards this NGO or this SDG, which is very much impressive. Therefore, there's need for us to further collaborate and strengthen our partnership.
NGOs and CSOs remain important partners in the socio-economic development of Namibia, and as such should regard themselves as relevant players in the upliftment and advancement of Namibia.
There's a need for collective and shared ideas and action as echoed by the UN SDG core in this decade of action. Partnership platforms are but one avenue for sharing knowledge and resources and working towards common objectives.
I think civil society organizations should continue to strengthen social movements, to be able to strengthen our voices, to holding governments accountable to whatever commitments that they have made. Commitments will be in sense of our national development plans. In Namibia, we talk about Harambee Prosperity Plan, but at least we should be vocal in terms of to tell government to say this is the minimum that you have promised us. At least you must be able to deliver, and holding government accountable.